Yes, me already does that. Let's say you walk into a house and you notice that the roof appears a bit wet. You tell your best friend who lives there, why does the roof appear so wet? And he tells you, don't worry about it. Just a bit moisture. Then, an hour later, you hear water running. But not from the cranes in the house, not from the shower. So both of you stand up to check what goes on. And wow, there's a whole flood in the kitchen. The water from the neighbor above is now pouring through your house. It's flooding your house. So you quickly call the emergency line. The people come. Those go to your neighbor upstairs. And what do you know? The neighbor forgot to shut down the shower. So the neighbor's house is filled with water, and the weight of the water pressed on and broke into your roof, so your roof became wet. Now your roof was able to hold the weight with water, but your roof began to crack, so your roof became a bit wet. When your roof became wet, that was a symptom of an eruption that's about to come. But you didn't notice that. You thought, the roof is a bit wet, maybe because of moisture. So I just opened the window, or I just put on the heater, it will get a bit dry. No. You misdiagnosed the situation. So now your house is flooded too. Now, let's go to another example. Let's say you're walking by and you witness someone suddenly begin to scream, shout, begin to throw objects, shout very loud, scream aloud, and you think, whoa, what goes on over here? Now you're afraid that they will pick up a stick or a knife or whatever, begin to stab people, so you call the cops quickly. And then when the cops come and arrest the individual, they later find out this individual had a psychotic episode. So they were able to deal with it. Now, what do those examples have in common? In both cases, there was an eruption that happened. Well, something Rashid, you can't really call the other one an eruption because eruption normally comes from below to up, like with the volcano. But you get what I'm saying. Figuratively speaking, it was an eruption. It was an eruption of water, now flooding your whole house. The other one, it was an eruption of anxiety that became physical and therefore dangerous for the environment. In both cases, it's an eruption. Now, why did I give you those two examples? Because I want you to understand the following. As a believer, walking by faith, you will experience psychic eruptions. Now, I'm not talking about you erupting. It's not you. See it like this. When you operate in the light, and those around you keep operating in darkness, you operate in the light will turn you into a mirror. And you, as the mirror, you reflect back onto them their lack. And that's something people want to see about themselves. So they will get upset with you. Now, when they're upset with you, they now want to take action against you because they will blame you for how bad they feel. If they don't succeed in shutting you down, whether it's expelling you, or whether it's putting you in prison, or whether it's killing you, or maybe a more friendly variant, disabling you physically, if you're not able to shut down your influence, if you're not able to erase you from the environment, because let's say now you move to another country, but your impact is still there. When they can't get rid of you, which also includes your impact, people are going to get angry, angrier and angrier. That anger will build up inside of them. And that anger is going to be dormant. It's not going to be an active in your face anger. It's going to be dormant anger. And not only those people, other people who see the situation that people just can't shut you down or your influence just won't go away will also be upset with you because they think, well, if those other people don't like you or have issues against you and your influence just won't go away, because people are going to lose their mind at some point. And who has to deal with them? We. So you have more people become upset with you. When the public resists you and eventually they're exhausted by their resistance, they have no choice but to concede. Maybe you're a musician making music, and because now you have a deal with multiple radio stations, your music's on the radio often. Let's say you have a couple eating in a restaurant, suddenly they hear your music playing on the radio of the restaurant. Now they get triggered because they can't stand you. All that built up anger comes up. They either leave the restaurant, because if they stay in the restaurant, eventually they can't control themselves anymore. They will lash out, scream, or whatever. And that's going to lead to more consequences. Or let's say now that you're at work and you realize the mood changes out of the blue. Why? Because there's a song on the radio and everyone hates that song. So suddenly everyone is upset. Now, in an example like this, let's say an individual, in this case you're a musician, you have a deal with multiple radio stations, and your music's often there. Can the people make the radio stations stop playing your songs? If they come up with a petition, they need to explain why they want your music gone, and they can't do that. And that's a lot of effort. What's going to happen is, one day your song will be played, and someone's going to get angry. But they're going to direct the anger towards someone else. For example, you may hear someone suddenly getting upset with their son or daughter, complaining and screaming at their son or daughter. And everyone's thinking, why is this individual losing it against their child like that? Well, because they are having a psychic explosion. Or better said, psychic eruption. All that toxic waste they accumulated within themselves by not liking you is now coming out. But now, the son or daughter is the collateral damage. They are now the collateral damage of this individual investing against you. So, in this case, was the son or daughter to blame for anything? No. But look at this. Let's say this individual erupts. Later, people have to talk to what goes on, and eventually your name is coming up. And eventually we're going to think that you must be related to this individual being so mentally messed up. Well, you're not related to it, because you're not the one that caused it. They caused it themselves. But eventually, you will be blamed for it. Even if people would say, well, he's a grown man, he shouldn't have lashed out against his child like that because he had issues with another grown man or a grown woman, eventually people can remember the incident. And let's say now there are more incidents like this happening in a community, that people get angry, upset, or they lose it, and your name is mentioned. Eventually, the public's going to pick up, why is this guy or this woman's name mentioned over and over again? And eventually, the public is going to develop resistance against you because of the incidents in the community. Because somehow they're going to realize that you're linked to it. Well, how are you linked to it? You're linked to it because the people are resisting you and your influence keeps triggering them. So now you'll have people trying to ban you, try to shadow ban you if you can't directly ban you, or to blacklist you. So you will face out of the blue sudden difficulties in life. Out of the blue difficulties. For example, your internet stopped working. Or one day your electronic devices begin to malfunction. Why? Because on a psychic level, you have a whole population now emitting this rage, this exhaustion towards you. And that's going to affect your environment. It's also going to have a small effect on you, the individual, but it will have an enormous effect on your environment. And often those close to you, around you, can pick up that around you there's a dark tension that haunts you. So they might begin to walk away from you and leave you. So that is also a red flag to look out for, when suddenly big numbers of people begin to leave you. Psychic eruptions. The believer will experience them. You have people erupting behind the scenes against you, and eventually the public will erupt periodically against you. The public in general cannot just act out against you. They can't do it behind the scenes or indirectly, but their exhaustion of resisting you, the tantrums they're throwing in the living rooms, at the workplace, or in the bedrooms, whatever, against you, those shocks, you will experience them. So psychic eruptions, you will experience them during this lifetime as a believer. When such things happen, don't be afraid. Do not freak out. Just realize this is what goes on. Overrule it by remaining calm, decreeing, declaring, and moving forward. Simple as that. Psychic eruptions will happen. I just experienced one yesterday. I won't go into details here. Just understand, when you are moving forward and expanding, those who don't want your expansion and who have a firm no against your expansion, when their boundaries are not validated nor recognized, and you have to go against their own will, against their own effort, that will psychologically intoxicate them with resentment. They develop toxic fields, and toxic fields going to foam and eventually erupt. And on the large scale, there's going to be collective eruptions against you that you will experience on a psychic level. So, this will happen. Offenses will come. And one way offenses manifest themselves is through psychic eruptions. So, be ahead of psychic eruptions. Be ahead of it. Well, that's it for now. Keep on agreeing with Christ and be at peace.